All right, everyone, are you ready for this one? I will put the link to this article below above the comments in the show more box. U.S. on alert for nuclear blast overhead. Just when you think peace and safety comes sudden destruction. This is coming out of Washington. U.S. officials quietly are expressing concern that North Korea could use a space launch vehicle to explode a high-altitude nuclear device over the United States, creating an electromagnetic pulse that would destroy major portions of the U.S. electrical grid systems, as well as the nation's critical infrastructures. The concern is so great that U.S. officials who watch North Korea closely are continually monitoring the status of the North Korean space launch vehicle, whose status could suggest a preemptive nuclear strike against the United States. They are aware of the three-stage missile North Korea launched last December that also orbited a package, which experts say could be a test to orbit a nuclear weapon that then would be deorbited on command anywhere over the United States and exploded at a high altitude, creating an EMP effect. This concern is in addition to North Korea's latest threat to strike targets in Hawaii and the continental U.S., as well as possible attacks against the U.S. bases in South Korea and Japan. The 28-year-old North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, has signed an order for North Korea's strategic rocket forces to be on standby to fire at U.S. targets. I just now, before I found this, uploaded a video where China now has troops and jets on the border of North Korea. They are North Korea's strongest ally. So we got China involved now as well. On top of this, the signing was against a photo backdrop following an emergency meeting of the senior military leaders showing large maps that were labeled U.S. mainland strike plan, specifically at Hawaii, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, and Austin, Texas. One WorldNet daily reader who traced the targeting to Texas said it really was aimed at the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The latest North Korean threats occurred after the U.S. sent two B-2 stealth bombers to strike targets with inert bombs during joint U.S.-South Korean military exercises, which Kim considered a major provocation. He finally signed the plan on technical preparations of strategic rockets, ordering them to be on standby to fire so that they may strike anytime the U.S. mainland, its military bases in the operational theaters in the Pacific, including Hawaii and Guam, and those in South Korea, according to a statement by the North Korean news agency. The statement added that the B-2 flights showed Washington's hostile intent and the reckless act had gone beyond the phase of threat and blackmail. In response, U.S. Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel condemned North Korea's actions, which to date have included dissolving the 1953 armistice between North and South Korea, severing the military hotline with South Korea, and putting its artillery forces on high alert and threatening, once again, nuclear strikes against the U.S. In recent weeks, North Korea also had released 3 videos showing a nuclear strike on the U.S. We've made very clear that we have the capability and willingness to protect our interests and our allies in the region, according to Deputy White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest. He said that the U.S. military exercises with South Korea should offer pretty clear evidence that the U.S. can defend its interests and those of its allies in the region. Well, I have a strong idea China feels the same way. That's why they have troops now. That's why the Chinese military is on the border of North Korea. Sources say that sending the B-2s was in response to the recent North Korean threats to send a message which Russia and China called a provocative act. Russia and China have asked the U.S. to continue talking to North Korea and not to take military action against North Korea. But breaking now, Chinese troops are on the border now of North Korea. In response to North Korea's initial bellicose rhetoric, Hagel ordered the deployment of additional Aegis anti-missile systems for the U.S. West Coast. They originally were destined for Europe, and a second anti-ballistic missile radar is to be installed in Japan. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. It's quite long. Let me skip ahead just a little bit. The fact that U.S. military officials are expressing quiet but increasing concern that North Korea could launch an EMP attack has raised alarms over the preservation of the U.S. national grid and such critical infrastructures as communications, energy, food and water, delivery, and space systems. People, you need to get ready, and you need to be prepared right now. This concern recently has been reinforced by a little publicized study by the U.S. Army War College that said a nuclear detonation at altitude above a U.S. city could wipe out the electrical grid for hundreds, possibly thousands of miles around. The impact would be catastrophic. Preparing for months without a commercial source of clean water, city water pressure is often dependent on electrical pumping to storage towers, and stoppage of sewage treatment facilities will require methods of survival, particularly in populated areas of the military. Study said this can be an all-out nuclear war aimed right here at the United States. We need to get prepared, and you need to be ready. The May 2011 study titled In the Dark Military, Planning for a Catastrophic Critical Infrastructure Event concluded that there is very little in the way of backup capability to the electric grid upon which the communications infrastructure is vitally dependent. Quite a long article. Quite a long article. And I'm going to put the link where you can have the entire article to read over and to study. But America, we do need to be prepared. Remember, whatever information we are getting, we're not being told the whole story. It is far more serious than what we are uncovering here. U.S. on alert for nuclear blast overhead. There is a strong possibility that North Korea can detonate a nuke at a high altitude, a nuclear device over the United States, and it can affect a number of states, Washington, and take out the power grid. And what else can it do? Leave me comments, everyone. Bookmark my site. Be prepared. Be informed. If you have not yet accepted Jesus into your heart as your Lord and Savior, if you're not saved, you need to call upon Him, and you need to do it right now. Leave me comments.